Hi everyone, we're taking a slight diversion on the channel for today's video. I will do a predicted 11 later on by myself for the game against Motherwell tomorrow, but first of all we're going to get the scoop on one of our proposed Japanese signings. We've gone for the one that looks likeliest at the moment, Kawasaki Frontale's Reo Hatate. We're kind of at the stage where we could do with getting a Japanese correspondent in, so why not bring in Sam Robson, who is basically the go-to guy for Japanese football. You're an analyst covering Japanese football for Football Radar. You're also the co-host of the J-Talk podcast. You are FR Soccer Sam on Twitter. Sam, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and yeah, thank you for having me on. It's be great to talk about Reo Hatate.
Are you up for being a Japanese correspondent? I feel like I should give you a contract or something.
I'm willing to discuss after this interview.
We'll see. A big thanks as well, I want to say, to Khalil Kayal. He knows who he is, who is a big Japanese football fan as well. He recommended a lot of people, including Sam. So great stuff. Thanks to everyone for making this happen. Set the scene for us then with regards to Kawasaki Frontale, because they're the best team in Japan by quite a distance right now.
Yeah, and they have been for the last 4 or 5 years. It's kind of rare in Japan to get one dominant team, but they have just been that. They've blown teams away from, the last few seasons, setting record points tallies, record goals last season. Yeah, they're just kind of an all-conquering machine at the moment.
And I saw someone saying that they play quite a similar pressing style to that of Ange at Celtic. Is that true?
Yeah, it's fairly identical, I suppose, and so, especially in the way that they set up with the 4-3-3, the in midfield. It kind of mirrors the way the Celtic play, and they took inspiration as well from the way that Ange Postecoglou had set up his Marinos side, because obviously they won that title, and it spurred Kawasaki on. They altered the way that they played and have almost gone on and perfected it, especially for the Japanese league.
So Ange has revitalised Celtic. He's revitalised Aussie football and Japanese football as well. Wow.
Yeah, it seems that way. It was an absolute breath of fresh air. His time in Japan, he's sorely missed already. I'm sure F. Marinos supporters think so with some of the performances that Kevin Muscat has brought to that club. But yeah, it's great to see him take that on at Celtic. And yeah, you seem to be having a good Japanese influence come over there.
Definitely. I'll get your thoughts in the end about, the overall fact that Celtic seem to be looking to Japanese players. But if we focus in on Hatate, what can you tell us about him?
Well, he's not a left back. I'm going to get that out there straight away, because
I saw you tweeted that actually. We'll maybe come on to that in a wee second.
Yeah, I mean, he's very versatile. He can play in multiple positions. When he first came in, he played at university, and he'd already played a lot for the Japan youth teams, mainly as kind of a right winger, left winger. He's played there, and he plays in behind the striker as well. Start of this season, which I think was where a lot of the confusion came from, he played at left back because of an injury crisis. Right. And it worked to an extent in that Kawasaki dominate possession. They're very rarely tested at the back, and the other three defenders there can bail Hatate out where if need be. So he was allowed to express himself in that position. But since then, he's moved back into a midfield role. He's kind of that hybrid of centre mid, attacking midfield. He'll get the ball. He'll look for passes straight away. He's look for the runs. He's good at carrying the ball, and he's got a decent shot on him as well. So a very technically gifted player, and can plug in where need be across various positions.
One thing I always, worry about players who are versatile is, does that versatility come at a cost? Do you struggle to find their best position? Is that an issue with Hatate? And is his best position that kind of attacking mid-role?
Yeah, I think he has now found that position. The first season, I think, was exactly that. And even at the start of this year, where there were various different, like Mitoma, I think, was playing in the exact position that he wanted to at Kawasaki. He's now gone on to Brighton via Belgium, and he kind of took the league by storm last year, and Hatate kind of had to sit in the wings a little bit. But now, once Mitoma left, once Tanaka left, who's gone to Germany, I mean, he's found that position, he's made it his own. And yeah, he needed that, because he was spending a lot of time just flitting around certain positions, looking good in a lot of them. But yeah, he's nailed that position down now, and I think that would be where Ange would like to play him more often than not. But yeah, that versatility can be a bit of a detriment as well to some players, if they are having to fill in various different roles.
But just to completely labour the point, Not a left back at all. Isn't being signed as a left back. You don't think won't play left back for Celtic unless we have some sort of a crisis.
I'd very much hope not. And if I'm just thinking that, just watch the last game that he played at left back against Sagan Tosu. Just watch those highlights and then don't do it again. He's when he has to defend, he's not good enough. I mean, he's an attacking player. He doesn't really know what he's doing back there and needs a lot of help if you are going to play him there. It might work if you're playing against like a really poor team and you're going to dominate the ball, and then he sort of operates as a deep winger if more than anything else. But I wouldn't be starting him in Europa League games or anything like that.
Right. One thing you're probably aware of as well is that we do play kind of inverted fullbacks, and they have to be good in possession. So it's maybe interesting to note that. What's he good at? I mean, I've seen some clips and he looks a really tidy footballer. Really takes care of the ball well. Quite slight, but uses his body quite well as well.
Yeah, and that's always an issue you usually find with Japanese players is how are they going to adapt to European football and the physicality of that. And he is very slight, but he's got that low centre of gravity. It takes a lot to knock him off the ball. And he's so good with it. He very rarely misplaces a pass, and he's got that eye for that pass, which is going to be perfect with Kyogo making his runs. Hopefully he's still fit. I don't really know from Thursday night.
Just don't go there, mate. Don't go avoiding that.
Okay, fair enough. But he'll look for those runs. He's very good in possession. He will then carry it as well. He doesn't have to just give away the ball. And he'll take on players. And I think he can do various different things in that midfield. So I'd expect good things from him.
One issue we have had this season is Kyogo. As you'll know, Kyogo makes incredible runs. I mean, I don't think I've seen a guy have movement like that. And a lot of the time, he makes these runs, and the fans actually see it because you hear a roar in the stadium. Oh, Kyogo's in, but the midfielder, whether it be Tom Rogic has actually been quite good. Whether it be David Turnbull or Callum McGregor or someone like that, they're not quite seeing the running time, and the ball's just not coming, and Kyogo's just making a run for the sake of it. We actually had one player in the summer, Ryan Christie, who was really doing it, then he left to go to Bournemouth. So we've kind of struggled a little bit there. So what I'm saying is, could Hatate be the guy who could get on Kyogo's wavelength and really feed those balls through for him?
I think that's exactly the reason he's going to be brought in, because I'm the same. I watched a lot of Celtic this year, mainly just on Kyogo watch, and you see all those balls and it just doesn't go in time, or they don't see the pass, but Hatate has got that eye for a pass. That's what he's been doing for Kawasaki. So I think that'll be a really good partnership, and they should be able to click pretty quickly.
Does he know Kyogo at all from like the Japanese setup at all?
And not really. They came through at different times. I think there's about a 3-year age gap, so they didn't really play at youth level, and they've only just got into the national team together. So they've had maybe a few sessions together, but it's not really. It's not like they've come through the ranks together. So it will take a little bit of time.
And when you're mentioning, the youth international setup, I think he's been a hot prospect all the way through the kind of university teams. The 2019 Toulon tournament, he was one of Japan's best players. I think they finished runners-up to Brazil. I think he actually missed the penalty that cost them, made them lose the penalty shootout. He is a future Japan international. He's probably going to get his debut, I think, at the end of January, because Japan have called up an all J-League team. Is he a future, permanent fixture in that Japan international team? Is he a player we could see at World Cups?
I would expect so. I mean, not necessarily with this current manager, as you might know, with him not starting Kyogo in various different games, and he doesn't like this. Oh, don't get me started on that. He's not necessarily keen on going straight to the youth, which wasn't great as he's kind of a defensive manager, so Hatate doesn't quite fit in with the way he wants to play. But I think there's pressure building on Moriyasu to pick those sorts of players, so I'm pretty sure he will get in. He got into the squad at the end of November, but didn't get game time. So in January, that first friendly that you mentioned, that is dependent on him being at Celtic or not, because if he's at Celtic, he can't play in that first friendly. So, but hopefully he should be called up for the qualifiers at the end of January. And he's on the fringes at the moment, but he's got enough quality that in the future he's definitely going to be a more permanent fixture in that Japan national team.
Yeah, just on that first friendly, I think it's Uzbekistan they're playing. I saw that news. Do you know anything about why they've called up a Japan-only team? I know COVID is said to be maybe one of the reasons, but are they perhaps, just wanting to look at some of the players who are playing in Japan at the moment?
Well, that game is falls outside the FIFA window, so they're not allowed to call players up from
Right.
Europe. So the J League players
Ah,
are obviously off. So yeah, they get the game, and the rest of the European-based players will come over for those World Cup qualifiers.
that's why we've got you here, mate. I'm sitting here looking, trying to come up with possible reasons, and you've just hit it nail on the head. He's out of contract, I think, in early February. Celtic seem keen to get the deal done before then. Do you foresee any issues with that?
I don't see any issues necessarily. I mean, Kawasaki will hold out for a fee. You saw the Kyogo fee, so they'll look at that and think, okay, we can get a bit more money for him here. And that contract issue as well. The J League clubs very rarely give any contract details, so it's just kind of guessed that there's it ends in February. I think there's been plenty of reports in the last couple of days that suggest that he's got a longer term deal, so it's not like
Right.
a Celtic can just get a cut price deal because he's out of contract in February. So they will have to stump up some money. I've seen various fees dotted about, like £1.5 million. I think Kawasaki wanted a little bit more than that, closer to the Kyogo fee. But yeah, I'm sure a deal will be worked out. Hatate, I think, quite clearly wants to leave, and kind of was quite emotional at the last home game. And so it does look like it's in motion. It's just maybe a bit of a wrangle over the fee.
So we wouldn't assume he's out of contract in February, is what you're saying?
No, I'm pretty confident he's not.
Wow, that's very interesting. And as you say, in terms of the fee, if you're talking 1.5 million for a player, maybe one of the better players from the champions of Japan, it seems quite low. Is
Yeah.
that just where Japanese football is at the moment? I mean, Kyogo was probably the best player in the league, and we got him for I think 4.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant bugbear of mine that Japanese clubs don't sell their players very well. They don't, get the true value of them, and there are bargains to be picked up, which is probably why Andy's going back to
Mm.
the J League a few times this window. Yeah, I think it's too cheap, but it's better than it has been. So often, Japanese players have gone off to Europe for free just because they don't want to stand in the way of their players in achieving their dreams, going over to Europe and bettering themselves as players. The league is improving, and I think with that there'll be more clubs demanding higher fees, and that will continue. But for now, yeah, it's still too low.
It just seems really, really low. I mean, I'm not complaining because we
Yeah,
signed Kyogo, who for me now is at least a £20 million player, and we got him for a fifth of that a couple of
yeah.
months ago. And what have you made overall of Celtic's interest in the Japanese market? Are there gems to be found in that league?
Oh, absolutely. And Postecoglou will know exactly where to find them, and he's already got one with Kyogo. And Maida has also been linked to as the one that we almost all assumed
Yeah.
would happen at some point. And then, yeah, Hatate, Ideguchi's a little bit different, but there's definitely opportunity there, and they're so cheap, so you can take the risk on them, but there's not really that much risk, and there's high rewards as you've seen with Kyogo, and hopefully we'll see with these three as well.
We should say everyone's going to be watching this and wondering if they've missed the official confirmation of Hatate signing, because it does seem like we're very much talking that way.
Yeah.
But I think all the reports we're hearing is that this is a deal that will be done at some stage in January. And you're clearly, in the know with regards to Japanese football, and you don't see any problems at all. Final verdict on Hatate to Celtic then? Hatate going to European football?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it at the moment. I don't know necessarily if he's absolute nailed on first choice, but I think as a perfect depth option in that midfield, I think he'll be terrific there. I think he's still only young. He had 2 years of professional experience, so it may take him a little bit of time. But I think going to a Postecoglou team, going to a system that is so similar to what he's been playing already, I'm sure he'll slot in very nicely, and you'll see quite a lot of him if he signs, for the rest of this season.
Sounds like an absolute banker, mate. You've sold me, you've sold the thousands of people watching as well. We'll definitely make you our Japanese correspondent, I think, Sam.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure to have you on. People can get you, as I say, on Twitter at FRSoccerSam. You speak loads of good stuff there. So thanks very much, mate. Do appreciate it.
No, well, thank you very much for having me. And I look forward to the 3-for-1 offer that Celtic are going to offer me on shirts at the club store.
Right, a big thanks to Sam for his input there. That guy's knowledge on Japanese football is just incredible. He knows his stuff, and I think it's fair to say we'll get him back on the channel at some stage. I think Celtic will certainly keep us busy with regards to Japanese players. Just a couple of wee things I want to tie up before I can go and enjoy my Saturday, and you can hopefully do the same. A wee update on the Spurs Conference League situation. Now, I went into this on yesterday's video. Basically, Spurs have had COVID issues. They weren't able to play their final group stage game against Rennes, meaning that their fate in the Conference League is still up in the air. Between them and Vitesse going for second place. Rennes have already secured top spot. Basically, the update is that the Spurs-Rennes match now won't be played. UEFA have decided it won't be played, and they will now come up with the result. But the chances of them giving Spurs the victory they need to go through from the group stage seems very unlikely. I don't think they would do Vitesse like that. So it seems like Vitesse are going to go through. Spurs will be out of the Conference League, and obviously that's good news from a Celtic point of view. Or as Lady Gaga once said, right, tomorrow, Celtic versus Motherwell. This is the league table. This is before Saturday's games. As you can see, Motherwell doing well. It won't be easy at all given our injury concerns. Remember, no Jota, no Kyogo, no Albion Ayeti as well. The good news is that Hart, Juranovic, CCV, Starfelt, Rogic will all be back, having been fully rested on Thursday. Now, Lewis Laird, who I'm basically owing royalties to at this stage, I mention him in almost every video, he interestingly tweeted last night saying that both Owen Moffat and Joey Dawson had been called up to the first team and didn't play for Celtic B last night. They beat East Stirlingshire 1-0 at the Falkirk Stadium. Rocco Vata scoring a kind of thumped finish in that game. But interesting news there. Could we see Moffat or Dawson start up top for Celtic tomorrow? Well, why don't we have a wee look at my team and see? No. We're going with Joe Hart in goals, with Juranovic, Carter Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor making up the back four. Callum McGregor with Tom Rogic and David Turnbull in front of him. James Forrest on the right, Mikey Johnson on the left, and Liel Abada up front. Now, that team would actually be just one change from the side that beat Dundee United 3-0 last week. It would be a big change with Kyogo missing out, but this is still a game that Celtic should be able to win. I hope that's the case, and I think it will be the case. I think Motherwell are a good side. They'll make it difficult for us. They'll probably come out and play a little bit more than some teams have at Celtic Park because their confidence is high, but I just think it's a game that Celtic will be too strong in, and hopefully we can rack up another 3 points. Going to leave it there for now. Thanks for watching again. Hope you enjoyed the interview that was on for the majority of this video, and we'll chat to you very soon, aka tomorrow.